The dining room shimmered under the golden chandelier, its light bouncing off polished cutlery and crystal glasses. The table was dressed for a feast. Steaming dishes, fragrant spices, and the air thick with anticipation. Yet beneath the glow, tension curled like smoke, invisible but suffocating. I had walked into this dinner, expecting whispers, maybe side eyes, but nothing could have prepared me for the storm they unleashed. My in-laws, those smiling serpents, had always played their game with subtlety. Tonight, though, they sharpened their knives in public, eager to draw blood where everyone could see. It began with my sister-in-law's honeyed voice, dripping with fake innocence. "We should really talk about honesty in marriage," she said, her gaze cutting toward me as though the word honesty itself was a dagger. Then my mother-in-law leaned in, her lips curved in a predator's smile. "Oh yes, especially when a wife has secrets." The table went quiet. My husband stiffened beside me, his hand frozen around his fork. And then it came, like venom released. They accused me of affairs. Affairs I never had. Affairs that were nothing more than fabrications twisted out of shadows and whispers. Every sentence they spat was carefully rehearsed. "We've seen messages. Neighbors have noticed unusual visits. She hides things from you." My chest burned, but I didn't flinch. Rage simmered, yes, but rage was not my weapon tonight. They thought I would cry, defend myself, plead for my husband's trust. But I knew better. I knew the moment I gave them tears, I'd hand them victory. So I smiled. Just a faint curve of my lips, enough to unsettle them. They expected fire, but I gave them silence. The kind of silence that promises a storm yet to come. Their confidence faltered for a fraction of a second. My husband turned to me, his eyes clouded with doubt, confusion gnawing at him. And that's when I decided, let them dig their own grave a little deeper. I folded my napkin neatly, as though their poison hadn't touched me at all, and whispered, "If you want to reveal secrets tonight, let's make sure everyone hears the full story." The color drained from my mother-in-law's face. For the first time, they realized I wasn't the cornered prey. I was the hunter waiting for the perfect strike. The clinking of cutlery tried to mask the silence, but every sound only made the tension sharper. My husband sat stiff, his knuckles white around the fork. I could see the questions swirling in his eyes, but he was too paralyzed to speak. Meanwhile, my in-laws leaned back, satisfied, as though their work was done. They thought they had planted enough doubt to poison his trust. What they didn't realize was that while they schemed in shadows, I had been collecting my own light. Weeks before this dinner, I had sensed their whispers. A strange phone call here, a hushed conversation there. I noticed how my sister-in-law lingered around my husband, offering concern that felt rehearsed. And my mother-in-law's smile, always sweet in front of him, but sharp as glass when he wasn't looking, told me everything I needed to know. So, I prepared. In a quiet folder on my phone, and a hidden drive on my laptop, I gathered proof. Screenshots of their messages plotting together, receipts of money they had siphoned from my husband's account, and even photographs of late-night meetings they assumed nobody had witnessed. They had been crafting lies about my so-called affairs. But all the while, their own secrets had been festering. I looked around the table. "You said you've seen messages," I said softly, my voice calm, almost inviting. "Why don't you share them?" My mother-in-law's eyes flickered. My sister-in-law shifted in her chair. My father-in-law cleared his throat, muttering something about respect for family privacy. I smiled wider this time, letting the silence expose them. "No. Then perhaps," I continued, "we should all take a look at my messages, but not just mine." I let the words drip slowly, watching their faces freeze. Everyone's. The air thickened, heavy with their panic. My husband finally spoke, his voice low, uncertain. "What do you mean?" I placed my phone gently on the table. "I mean that the truth isn't hiding in my conversations, darling. It's hiding in theirs." Their forks paused mid-air. Their smiles stiffened, and in that moment, I saw fear flicker in their eyes. For the first time since I married into this family, they realized I wasn't a not-ARV outsider. I was the storm they had underestimated. My husband's gaze shifted between me and his parents, confusion painted across his face. His fork clattered onto the plate, forgotten. "What are you talking about?" he asked, his voice trembling. I leaned back in my chair. Calm, deliberate. "They've been whispering lies about me. But what they didn't know," I slid my phone across the table, "is that I already caught their whispers." With a few taps, I opened a folder. Dozens of screenshots appeared. Private group chats between my in-laws, mocking me, plotting to convince my husband that I was unfaithful. Their words were venomous, laced with contempt. Gasps broke the silence. My sister-in-law's face drained of color. My mother-in-law reached across the table, as if she could snatch the phone away. But my husband was quicker. His hands shook as he scrolled through the evidence, each message stabbing his trust deeper. Not in me, but in them. And then came the photographs. Crisp, undeniable images of my father-in-law slipping into a hotel late at night with a woman who was not his wife. My investigator had been thorough. My husband's eyes widened, rage swirling now, not at me, but at the ones who dared to shatter his family's foundation with their own rotten secrets. "You lied," he whispered to his parents, disbelief strangling his words. "You tried to destroy my marriage to hide your own sins." My mother-in-law sputtered excuses, her voice shrill, her carefully constructed mask crumbling with every passing second. My sister-in-law tried to cry her way out, but even her tears looked rehearsed, hollow. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't argue. I only sat still, letting their shame fill the silence. For years, they thought I was weak, an outsider to be manipulated. Tonight, they learned that quiet doesn't mean powerless. My husband finally set the phone down, his voice sharp, final. "Enough. I see everything now." The dining room, once their battlefield, had become their graveyard. They had tried to bury me with lies. But tonight, they were the ones sinking. The silence that followed was heavy, suffocating. My in-laws sat frozen, their faces pale as though the walls had collapsed on them. They had spent weeks weaving their trap, only to step straight into mine. I rose slowly, letting my chair scrape the floor, an echo that made them all flinch. "You thought you could break me with lies," I said softly, each word slicing sharper than a blade. "But I don't fight with noise, I fight with truth." From my bag, I pulled out a neat folder and placed it on the table. Inside were documents, bank records, hotel bills, and the investigators' full report. Everything they had tried to bury was now exposed under the same roof where they wanted to bury me. My father-in-law's hand trembled as he reached for the folder, but my husband stopped him. "No," he said firmly. "We've heard enough excuses. You tried to poison my mind against my wife to save yourselves. But you only poisoned your own family." My mother-in-law's lips quivered. "We did it for you, we didn't want her." "Stop." My husband cut her off. His voice cracked like thunder. "The only ones who betrayed this family are you." Tears stung my eyes. Not from pain but from the release of years of quiet endurance. I had imagined this moment countless times. When the mask would finally slip, when they would choke on the venom they spewed at me. And now, it was here. I gathered my phone, the folder, and finally looked at each of them. "You called me weak. You called me an outsider. But tonight, you will remember me as the woman who saw through every lie." I turned to my husband. "The choice is yours. Them, or me." He didn't hesitate. His hand slipped into mine, steady, resolute. His voice was calm but final. "We're done here." The room cracked with silence as we walked out together, leaving them staring at the ruins of their own deceit. That night, under the cool darkness of the sky, I breathed freely for the first time in years. Betrayal had tried to break me, but patience had become my weapon. They thought they had written my downfall. Instead, I had written their ending. Because revenge isn't always fire. Sometimes, it's the quiet truth that burns the loudest.